Hi, this is Jeff Allen. I would like to comment on the post of Mr. New CEO Twitter 6 rules, but I don't want to address all 6 rules that were announced, but just 3 of them, because 3 of them are about meetings. And and I and in a bit of way I do agree. So the 3 ones that are here are avoid large meetings, then leaving a meeting if you're not contributing. And then the third one I'm going to scroll down here is ditch frequent meetings. And so the reasons why they avoid large meetings is large meetings waste valuable time and energy. They discourage debate. People are guarded more than open. People are more timid than open during them because there's a lot of people. There's not a time for everybody to contribute, and don't schedule them unless you're certain they provide value. Okay. And then the second one is leave a meeting if you're not contributing. Because if a meeting doesn't require your input, value, or decisions, then your presence is useless. It's not rude to leave a meeting, but it's rude to waste people's time. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, from just the surface, look at that. And the ditch frequent meetings, number 3, the third one of that. There's no better way to waste everyone's time. Use meetings to collaborate or attack issues head on, or to solve urgent problems. But once you've resolved the problem, then frequent meetings are no longer necessary. You can resolve most issues without a meeting. Instead of meetings, send a text, send an email, community on a Discord or Slack channel. Don't interrupt your team's workflow. It's unnecessary. So these 3 rules, I mean, there are some good points to it. And then there are some not so good points to it. It's not either or. It's not throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? And I can see a number of the reasons why he said that. He's made his statements. He said what's true. But there are lots of other things to consider in all this. Let's kind of dig a couple in. I'll give some anecdotes and stories here to see how sometimes doing this doesn't work. And I think one of the things that's interesting here, another one here that does relate, is forget the chain of command. So communicate with colleagues directly, not through supervisors or managers. Fast communicators make fast decisions. Fast decisions equals competitive advantage. Now this plays in the part of this meeting thing, right? It's about decision-making processes. And then we could actually attach the other ones, be clear, not clever. We could do that too. And I could attach the other ones too, but I don't want to go into all that. I want to talk about the meeting part. And this assumes, well, I think the key thing here to understand is, not wasting time. Don't do things if they aren't going to waste time. And I've seen this a lot where, but one of the things I've seen where there's been an attempt to do that, I know one of the things that has been attempted in a lot of companies is to do the one day a week without meetings, right? So Friday without meetings to catch up on things, or to do real work, right? Be more productive. And I've also seen situations where there have been decisions to stop all department meetings for 2 weeks. Done a couple of times. For the same reason, to be everyone be productive. But it's funny when I mentioned, and I kind of made comments on this, I said to the people, well, the 2 people are actually asking for this. They're not asking the community about this, the whole department, but not asking the department wants to do it, but they're doing it because they, as managers, are in too many meetings. And what I mentioned was the reason why they're in too many meetings is they're actually involved in too many teams. And when you're involved in too many teams, you're in too many meetings. So you shouldn't be in 5 or 6 teams. That's too much. You should be in 1 or 2 teams to be able to contribute. But if you're spread out across too many teams, then you cannot contribute very much. And then you seem like the meetings are a waste of time. You're running from meeting to meeting, and you're trying to prepare the next meeting during the previous meeting. So that's a problem. And what I usually said was that I decided to be in less teams. That gives me more time to be in certain teams to contribute. And then I can kind of pop into other teams as a guest, invited guest member or as a, whatever from time to time as needed on certain topics. And that's useful. But if I was in a lot of teams, and I just decided to abandon, to drop out of a few teams, and that gave me more time. So my way of doing this was not doing in too many teams. But so I've seen this attempt to do this, not have meetings for 2 full weeks. And what did that do? And I knew this was going to happen, and some colleagues knew it was going to happen too, was that was going to create more meetings because there wouldn't be any meetings. But then you still have to meet with people still, and you still have to actually disseminate information, right? And so you don't have a meeting, then you got to go and do a bunch of one-on-one meetings. So you're going to create more meetings to go catch up to people that you would normally, your stakeholders that you never give information to, right? To other team members. So this gets, sorry, the beep beep. But I think the key here is, sorry for the little ongoing cough. And the ding ding is not important. The key thing here is, in the end, what happened with this not having meetings for 2 weeks is that a lot of people complained that it created a lot of more little one-on-one meetings or smaller meetings to actually catch up and for the fact that there weren't any larger meetings. Larger can be, 5 people, right? To 20 people, to 50 people, whatever. And to, the whole department. And and then it was also that later the second time around that it's not obligatory or mandatory. But the thing is, it's kind of back and forth, ambivalent. And so I lot of see people that the people were frustrated. The people that have to call these extra meetings to catch up with people and actually catch up with the backlog and do the things that were missed, and not having scrum meetings. I mean, if you're working on a product, right, or a project, you don't have your daily scrum meetings at all for 2 weeks, you're effed, right? I mean, come on. These small meetings are the way to find out what's happening, right, and find out how the team's working. Now, if you're not working as a single team on a single topic, then these meetings can be a waste, right? They can be, because everybody's kind of talking about their thing, which doesn't relate to other people. I mean, I've been in a lot of these hybrid teams but if it's not too frequent, right? If it's once a month, that's a different thing. But if it's every single day or every single week of doing this, it can be a waste of time. But this whole thing is, this whole thing of, this comes down to, and I've made a separate video on the whole work from home topic and remote work thing, right? Today I've made just a video on that, which kind of goes on this whole thing too, of efficiency of time and what's really efficient, productive, and all that. I won't go into the repeating that here. You can watch that if you want to. It's called work from home, reply and work from home or something like that. My YouTube channel. But some of the things is be efficient. Now this is coming from somebody from North America, right? Who is thinking very North American, which is decisions, and the Germans are kind of this way too. I've talked about this in my Working with the Germans book, and I've talked about this in my Understanding Work with the Americans book too. And one of the things, these things that all this is about, time is efficiency, time is important. And this completely bypasses and avoids cultural concepts of time and value of time, which I talk about in these books about working with different cultures. And sometimes some cultures need to have meetings. They need to have things because it's relationship building. It's not about just decision making. It's about relationship building. And look at I've got a new video come up on my working with Africans when I talk about this a lot more depth with an experience of the past several weeks. That was really confirming everything I was saying, and how Europeans and North Americans don't get it on why Africans need to, and I'm being very generic here, do time consensus. They're not time controlled, and why they're more efficient in their meetings in their own way for consensus decision making processes. Make a whole nother video on that. But all this is assuming, what he is assuming here is that meetings have no value. Well, there are times when it's valuable. When you need to we need to give updates to everyone across the entire division about the results of the quarter. That's kind of important, right? And people want to know what the bonus is going to be. And people want to know about important decisions. That's important. Now, you don't have to pack everything in the meeting, but also big meetings are an opportunity to gather questions. Now, they can be anonymous questions. You just need to have a thing in an app that allows you to do this, right? To ask questions, and you can gather a lot of questions and try to answer them in verbal format, oral format, and then you can answer them by text afterwards, or have more meetings to do this. And Q&A sessions, an open talk, or what do you want to call these things, are actually very effective because they get people to open up and talk about things. And here it's saying that they don't. Well, I've actually seen it does. And sometimes you can't answer all the questions, right? This is the problem. So you got to find a way to deal with those. And I've seen where it has been done. I actually did all the I did all the caption editing of all these sessions. And I saw that there are a lot of questions being addressed as much as possible. Do you have a meeting in 30 minutes? Bam, and just try to answer all the questions you can. And you're hitting everybody, right? And it's allowing it's allowing sharing the information rather than doing one-on-one stuff, because one-on-one stuff wastes time. All these one-on-one discussions can waste time on things that could be dealt with at community level, or just be collective and dealt and listened to and addressed. And actually having big meetings can allow you to discuss things and do things and have comments. You might get a lot of feedback you wouldn't get if you're not able to do 50 million little meetings. You can have a lot of comments coming in, and you can address that, and you can think about it, and then go back and have another follow-up, a larger meeting, and then it can be iterative. But just saying all this is bad isn't true. I mean, there's not a one-size-fits-all solution for this. So I think I would say that his premise for saying this has value, but then depends on the situation, depends on the context, and sometimes you can't apply it everywhere like this. You need to actually decide, is it worth it or not, for the people involved, and the people need to kind of decide. And you can have less meetings, or you can set up meetings and cancel them. I mean, I've done that too. You set frequent. Nice thing about frequent meetings is that you set deadlines up to be able to answer questions and things. And what you do is, if nothing's ready by the time, the day before at lunchtime or something, you cancel the meeting. If there's nothing in the agenda to talk about, you can do that too. But if you don't have any meetings at all, then you don't have any accountability stuff happening between people. So there's a lot of things to look at this. And here I'm going 14 minutes, all right, just on this topic of whether to have meetings or not. So it's not such a simple topic. So look forward to your comments. Sorry for the cough, dealing with post bronchitis here, so